Do you want the chance to win 5 Funko Pop collectibles? All you have to do is like our social media at IAYTD and Facebook.com/IAYTD, and keep on the lookout for as soon as we hit 10,000 subscribers, we're doing a giveaway, and one of you is going to get 5 of those awesome bad boys. Welcome to I Am Your Target Demographic, and today we're covering the basics of Game of Thrones. This isn't for diehard fans, but is a superficial overview completely spoiler-free for people that haven't seen it or didn't give it much of a chance. We're going to talk about the basic structure, some important characters, and why this show has captivated so many people. It all began back in 1996 when a series called A Song of Ice and Fire began with its first book, A Game of Thrones. The series was written by George R.R. Martin, a sci-fi and fantasy writer who eventually struck gold with this franchise. It was conceived as a trilogy, but has since grown to 7 books, of which only 5 have been published so far. There is a concern from fans over when these final books will be published, as the 5th installment took 5 years to write. Book number 6 has taken more than 5 years already, and it's unsure when it'll actually be published. Most of you are likely familiar with the name Game of Thrones because of the television show, an hour-long series on HBO which takes the content from the novels and brings it to the small screen. There are some major differences, but most fans of the novels agree that the show does the source material justice. So what's this all about? Game of Thrones takes place in a fictional world, starting relatively realistic like an ancient medieval setting, but it slowly evolves to become more and more fantastical, bringing in aspects that are very much not realistic. It is called Game of Thrones because of the politics, different people and families fighting for the crown.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground.
There are several key families, usually with a handful of important characters that all rotate having power and who they choose to align with. When the show begins, we have several prominent families such as the Baratheons, one of which is king right now. We have the Lannisters, who manage to marry into royalty and are usually the antagonists of the show, and we also have the Starks, who protect the lands of the North. It is mostly through the Starks that we watch the first season unfold. Each family has a sigil, a drawing matched with a slogan, and theirs is a dire wolf image, and the slogan "Winter is coming." A terrible ice age-like blizzard covers the globe periodically, and they believe that the time is once again approaching. There are other families who enter the mix later on, but when the show begins, these are the central ones. In addition to these families, all with varying motivations, we have a plot that takes place very far away, following the 2 exiled children of the former rulers, a family called the Targaryens. In terms of blood, they should be ruling the land, and so they go on a quest to rally support and warriors in order to make their triumphant return. They must side with anyone they can find, which includes marrying into a band of seemingly barbaric warriors. When the show began, people latched onto it immediately because of the compelling characters, most of which are very complicated and morally gray. Even within the families, you may find yourself rooting for one sibling over the others, or rooting for alliances between them. The seasons themselves are relatively short, only 10 episodes each, but the production quality is superb, shooting at locations all over the world. Each episode costs about $10 million to make. There's also tremendous fight choreography, though some seasons are relatively calm compared to others. With the series being aired on HBO, it allowed for the show to gravitate towards the adult, meaning there's quite a bit of nudity and some gruesome violence, so this is not a kid-friendly fantasy series. This is an often dark and very mature story about politics set in a fantastical world. Some people also have a hard time with the show because of the large amount of characters. In the books, you get plenty of time with them and you get to know them, but in a 10-episode season, you may only see a character once or twice, or each character may only get one scene every episode. This means that it might be hard to keep track of who is who they're related to, and what they want. I personally found the show more enjoyable a second time through, once I got to know people's names, faces, and allegiances. Watching the show with subtitles on might also help you learn and recognize the names easier. If the show is known for anything though, it's known for the fact that nobody is safe. With such a huge cast, no one is safe from the axe, and characters you might assume will be series regulars will meet their demise, and this happens many times. These deaths often drastically change the power dynamics, and who is within range of the crown, meaning the show is a constant flux of who has power and who doesn't have power. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned that 2 books are still unreleased. Not surprisingly, the television show has caught up and is now past the books. The creators of the show have said in interviews that George R.R. Martin told them how the story ends and several key moments leading to that, but it's still unsure if the books will follow the events that are now unfolding in the show. The show is set to last 8 seasons total, but the last 2 seasons may have less than 10 episodes each, the creators have hinted at. In addition to the books and the television series, there have also been Game of Thrones board games and video games to help keep people entertained during the off seasons. So if this world of fantasy and politics sounds intriguing, the definite best way to explore it is via the books. But many people dove into the show without that, so feel free to pick your poison. Hopefully this gave you a good idea what it's all about and why people love it so much. Thanks for watching.